Thanksgiving is tomorrow, which means family time is on the horizon. But that can also mean an increase in stress and tension within some of those family dynamics. Here are some tips on how to manage your mental health this Thanksgiving. We have marriage and family therapist with the Birmingham Maple Clinic, Carrie Krawiec, joining us on The Splash. Carrie, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Glad to have you with us and really interested in getting into this topic. What are some of the biggest issues people might be dealing with this Thanksgiving season with their families?
I think in most cases, families are excited to be together and they're well meaning, but at times questions can be inappropriate, can violate boundaries, can maybe violate privacy. So maybe the intentions are about connecting and getting to know each other, but the unintended result is that someone may feel uncomfortable, put on the spot, or shamed for how their life may be going.
Right, and especially after a big, with the recent election season, whichever side of the political spectrum you may be on, that's sure to bring up a lot of feelings and emotions, especially with members of the family who might have differing opinions. Have you seen an increase in cases like that this season because of that?
Sure, it's definitely been on people's minds. So there's maybe a tension or a nervousness going into a situation. Now, the reality of the situation is that our families have always spanned belief systems and political spectrums and things like that, but maybe it wasn't in the past always so talked about. And we're always so heated. So now you hear those sort of like harsher, more critical comments. Whereas maybe before we always knew Uncle Joe felt differently about us than one topic and grandma felt something about something else. But now everyone feels those in a more critical and hostile way towards one another. And so I think one of the reminders for family is to avoid like critical remarks, name calling, things that are just going to naturally make other people defensive or bring up counter arguments. I mean, if you have an interest in talking about political things, some of the advice is don't talk about it. I don't know that that's the best advice, but perhaps if you have some interest, coming to the table with compassion and curiosity, asking your family members or your older family members, how did their belief systems change over their lifetime? What kinds of things informed them? What were their experiences in their life that led them to the path that they did? That you may actually learn something really interesting and even a relief and even a source of a shared common ground that you're not aware of when you look at things in such a binary way. But if you come with curiosity and wonderment, you may learn a lot about your family's history, and that kind of learning actually brings resilience and healing for people too. So it's a good behavior to exercise.
You're absolutely right. And with this Thanksgiving season, we don't need any of that hostility at the dinner table. The biggest argument that should be taking place should be who gets the biggest piece of the pumpkin pie. That's the only argument that needs to be taking place. But
That's great.
why is family stress such an issue for people?
I mean, so, people want to have, fond memories of the holidays. They either remember their historical holidays fonder than they were, of course, with that childlike wonderment. And then, we come into the holidays and we want to make the Pinterest photos and the Instagram photos. And so there's a lot of expectation, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of excitement, and then this worry also that it could all fall flat. And so I think when you have really high expectations and if those expectations are unmet, there is an experience of devastation or depression as a result. And so I think it feels sort of fragile. We've gotten away from it just being a casual, let's just get together and share a meal. And there's a lot of other influences nowadays that probably didn't exist. But that pressure can also make it feel like it has to go off perfectly without a hitch. And that makes things even more stressful.
That's absolutely right. It's important to just keep those expectations in check and just make sure everything goes smoothly. For those just joining us on the Splash Live, we have marriage and family therapist with the Birmingham Maple Clinic, Carrie Krawiec, joining us to talk about navigating some of that stress and negativity that family dynamics might bring this type of year. And it's not just adults who might be dealing with things like this. It could also happen with some of the kids. Maybe if their parents are going through a tough time, maybe a divorce or a separation. Have you seen anything like that from kids?
Certainly coming into the holidays, maybe there is a sense of family tension, and or maybe there's sort of a pretending through the holidays, and maybe kids might be reacting to their sense that things aren't exactly as they seem. But as you were talking, I was thinking, back to like sort of how should we approach things. Something might be going on with someone that you don't know, and to just again ask, instead of asking something bold like, why haven't you had kids yet, or when are you going to start dating, don't assume you know the answer to that question just because you can't see it. Perhaps asking people, what are their biggest things they're looking forward to for the upcoming year, what things are exciting them right now in their lives. Do they have any passions or interests they're pursuing? Instead of a targeted question about a very personal topic, maybe more open ended. Were there anything that got them down this year that they'd like to see corrected in the following year? As opposed to, yeah, like asking something really targeted, why aren't you drinking? Are you pregnant? It could be their sobriety path they don't want to talk about. You don't necessarily know what's going on with someone. And if you ask a really pointed question, you may end up violating that person and really making them uncomfortable or feel some sort of shame or anxiety.
That's right. Don't make any rash assumptions with any member of the family. Nobody knows what you're going through, and it's their private business if they want to keep it private. But Carrie, you talked about how this is, I mean, obviously we're dealing with these things for Thanksgiving season, but this could also carry over into the Christmas season as the holidays are underway, and this isn't just going to completely stop after Thanksgiving, would you say?
Sure. I mean, this whole right from pretty much from Thanksgiving through New Year's, no matter what your faith or celebrations are, there's work parties, there's school parties, there's a number of different religious faiths have celebrations this time of year. So there is the chance that people will be together in these like sort of intimate situations. So I think that's another thing is if you're a guest and you either have information you don't want to share, or you are feeling on edge about, maybe being put on the spot about one topic or another, or you're on edge about conflicts that might arise between other participants, you can't control everybody else and you can't make rules for everybody else. So you really do the best to take care of yourself. Pay attention to your own timing. If you know a party gets rowdier in the evening and people get looser with what they're talking about in the evening, make your arrangements to come early and leave early and give yourself an out. If there's conflict or tension between you and another person or between other people that makes you uncomfortable, make a plan for, okay, I'm going to take a walk at a certain time, or excuse yourself to a bathroom, or get an ally ahead of time. And there's someone who kind of knows your situation or knows how you feel, that maybe you have like a safe word and kind of a method of kind of ducking out or getting the space you need, even if it's just a walk around the block or some time to decompress yourself. If you're the host, paying attention to sort of the like table management, if topics are coming up, perhaps have some planned things, maybe some topics to introduce instead. Bringing up maybe old photographs or memories and historical things, or even some kind of a game with topics you can pick out of a hat. And if you need to, kind of sort of interject something as a distraction or a decompression, maybe invite someone to help you go into the garage and get the Christmas tree lights out of the attic or something, but just enough to sort of upset the flow can sort of disrupt those kind of uncomfortable moments.
All very, very helpful tips, and we do thank you for sharing some of these on our show today. One more question before we let you go. What are some great resources that people can utilize to find some more ways to decompress for the holiday season and for Thanksgiving?
Sure. Well, I mean, for one, it's getting a little bit cooler, but we've had a wonderful fall. Outside is probably one of our best resources. Fresh air, walking, movement is certainly, around an eating holiday. Monitoring how much you're drinking and being mindful of that is certainly going to be something that contributes to more anxiety and depression long term if it's not kept in check. Um, of course, the internet is ripe with resources. If you need something like a suicide hotline, if you're alone on the holidays and you need someone to talk to, there are resources available. And if you're at this time of year realizing that you're experiencing more anxiety, more depression, or more worry about the future, certainly reaching out to a trained therapist. So, to get in touch with a therapist at Birmingham Maple Clinic, you can visit www.birminghammaple.com. And there is a list of our therapists who work both in person or virtually. If you're feeling really a sense of despair over the holiday time and you're feeling at all suicidal, certainly calling 911 or taking yourself into an emergency room. It's absolutely important and necessary to take that seriously, and get at least a proper evaluation before deciding if you need something like outpatient or other inpatient care.
Great resources, and we thank you for sharing those resources. Carrie Krawiec with Birmingham Maple Clinic, we appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me. Have a nice weekend.